everybody. It's Judith.
Oh, hi, Judith. Long time.
Yes. I'm just letting you know that it's being live streamed at the moment, okay?
Thanks very much, Judith.
How are you?
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you going?
Very well, thank you. Can you sit beside you?
Please.
Do you want me to sit behind? Because I think it's going to fill up.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Maybe 90%.
It doesn't follow. Right, good morning. How are you? Good. Luke, so how are you? Yes. How are you, Luke? Ian French.
G'day, Luke. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Yeah, Amanda Bernard. Lovely to meet you.
I don't think we're going to be here for long. Depending on how much trouble you both cause. Me? Oh, there's a familiar face on the screen. Hello, Peggy. Morning, Dr. D.
Good morning, Ian.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I've got to warn you all because Anna's gone that we are currently being live streamed.
Okay. No bad jokes, huh?
No any jokes.
Don't you think I should tidy up my chambers?
It's too late. Just till Wednesday afternoon. See a few of the Darwin-based people. Together we're mostly focusing on what's happening at Uendamo. Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning, I'm Sally.
I'm Ian.
Nice to meet you, Dr. Franklin, isn't it?
Ian.
Hi, how are you?
How you going?
Hi, Sally. Amanda Bernard. I'm Ian's student. We spoke on the phone a few weeks ago. Lovely to meet you.
You good? Yeah. You left it for a while, was it? Okay. Have you been up for a while? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm doing the same thing at the moment, but not for work purposes. I've got all over Australia are having surgeries and football games. And so I'm off to Adelaide on Saturday for 2 weeks. Got 2 kids with ACL injuries.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
That's very good.
2 weeks apart.
Good surgeon? Is that a good surgeon?
Dr. Cherokee at Sportsmed in Adelaide. Yeah.
Hmm.
They seem to be adult children, but they never quite leave home. So
Yeah, no, that's no good.
hello there.
Luke, nice to meet you.
You experience it?
No, Felix is in town. He's gonna make it.
Luke is.
He's not here.
Is he not coming?
He's not coming.
So she's meant to be on the team.
I'm not sure. Peggy would know.
Hi, Peggy. Is Maria Waltz going to appear via Teams?
I think so. Let me just check.
Yes.
Do what, right? Boss connection.
Anna,
Right, Anna's not here. It's
No worries. You know that Maria Walls is having trouble connecting, so we don't have to wait for her.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's just streaming, I think. Like an office.
Is that just on Peggy's screen?
Is everyone ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to get the coroner.
It's from the 26th of May. Have I missed one?
There's one from the 1st of August.
Oh, I wonder why I got that. And a small page report on that. Because that other stuff only came through on Thursday, didn't it?
Yes, that might be.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, no, here's the one, sorry. His name on a different line.
Yeah. I don't seem to have a new one. Oh, actually, yes, I do. I missed it. Yep.
Coroner's Court of the Northern Territory is now in session. Please be seated.
Thank you. This is the third directions hearing into the inquest into the death of Kumanjai Walker. Before I take appearances, I'd like to acknowledge that this directions hearing is taking place on the land of the Larrakia people, the traditional owners of the country that includes Darwin. I acknowledge their elders past and present and pay my respects to them. I acknowledge their rich history and their ongoing connection to and stewardship of the land and sea. Larrakia country runs from Cox Peninsula to the west, to Gunpoint in the north, Adelaide River in the east, and south down to the Manton Dam area. The inquest itself will be held in Alice Springs on the land of the Aranda people, but I am currently based at the directions hearing. I also acknowledge any family listening to the directions hearing on the live stream, and I do thank the lawyers for attending on behalf of the interested parties today. I'll now take appearances. I'll start with Dr. Dwyer, counsel assisting on the video link, and just for convenience, I'll then take any other appearances on the video link before I return to the court, if that's all right, Dr. Freckleton.
Thank you, Anna.
And I do appreciate that it is a little bit blurry, so I'll just mention names to work through the appearances, but starting with you, Dr. Dwyer.
May I please support, Your Honour? I appear as your counsel assisting this morning. I note that Mr Coleridge is also online from Melbourne.
Thank you. And Mr McMahon? I can't really see you, and I don't think maybe you can see me, but I think you're there somewhere.
I can see you in a dreamlike way. I appear for the Time Period Committee. In chambers with me, I have my instructor, Ms. Ophelia Holway, but she's not able to be seen on screen.
Thank you. And then Mr. Bolton is there.
Yes, Your Honour. I appear for the North Australian Aboriginal Justice Agency, with Your Honour's leave. Also in court is Ms. Wild and Mr. Derrick. Mr. Murphy is overseas at the moment. He's not joining us. So.
Yes, thank you. And Miss Moreau?
Yes, Your Honour. I'm appearing as Mr. Mullins, who I think will be announcing our appearances.
Okay. Mr. Mullins?
Good morning, Your Honour. I appear with Ms. Moreau, instructed by Maxine Mullaney from Streeton Lawyers, both of whom are online, and we appear on behalf of the Brown family.
Thank you. And Mr. Hearn?
Thank you, Your Honour. I appear for the Robertson, Lane and Walker families, and I'm here with Ms. Pincus, solicitor.
Thank you. And then returning to court, Dr. Freckleton.
Thank you, Your Honour. I appear with Ms. Bernard for the Northern Territory Police Force.
Thank you. And I'll let the other parties along the bar table announce.
Yes, Your Honour. McCarthy, I appear for the Department of Health.
Thank you.
If it pleases the court, Oswald's appearing for the Northern Territory Police Association.
Thank you.
The court pleases Luke Officer for Constable Rolfe.
Thanks, Mr. Officer. Yes, Dr. Dwyer.
Thank you, Your Honour. Your Honour, a directions hearing is being held today to finalise details for the start of the inquest and to clarify some procedural issues. This court and your counsel assisting seek to conduct the inquest in a way that respects Kumanjai's culture and his family and community. To that end, and in response to the views and wishes of family and community members expressed to us at the time, we had earlier proposed to commence the inquest for the first few days at least in Yuendamu. At the last directions hearing on the 26th of May, I put on the record that when Paddy and I were in community that week, each of the community members that we spoke to requested that Your Honour go to Yuendamu for the commencement of the inquest. And the proposal was that the first few days of the inquest in Yuendamu would be less formal, so that Your Honour could just sit and listen to community members who would like to speak. And Your Honour's plan was to listen deeply to people who wanted to speak at that time in a way that was genuine and unhurried. Because that would not be formal evidence, community members would not be crossing. And it was felt that they could then speak freely and they could speak about how they felt and hoped for the inquest. Some members of the community discussed with Paddy and I at that time that there might be some ceremonial aspects to the opening, which would be welcomed by this court, but is of course entirely a matter for family and community. Recently, counsel assisting has been informed by the legal representatives for the Brown family and for the Walker, Lane and Robertson family, the lawyers for the Parumpuru Committee, that their position concerning the commencement of the inquest in Yuendamu has changed. They now do not wish for the inquest to start in Yuendamu because of what we're trying to address and difficulties currently being experienced in the community. On behalf of the Walker Lane and Robertson families, Council was informed last week that the strongly held view currently is that the inquest should not commence in Yuendamu at all, or sit in Yuendamu at all, because the community is in a state of high conflict at present, and community members don't feel comfortable having outsiders, including journalists, spending time in the community. The Brown family agrees with that position. The Parumparu Committee has communicated that it does not oppose the family's request that the inquest not commence in Yuendamu. Lawyers for Parumparu indicated that the position might change by the 5th of September, but that we couldn't be clear about that. I note, Your Honour, that is not the view of everybody in the community. Council Assisting has recently spoken to one senior elder who would like the proceedings to commence in Yuendamu still. However, that person is not legally represented in the proceedings, and he recognised that his view was not the view of the majority. So it's clear, of course, that not everybody. Council Assisting has consistently communicated with the family and community that Your Honour will respectfully consider their views. Given what has recently been communicated to us by Kumanjai's family and community, it now is appropriate to commence in Alice Springs. Your Honour, as you might imagine, that involved in arranging support.
Sorry, Ms. Dwyer, you have been breaking up a little bit, but it seems that you're breaking up a little bit more now. Is there nothing we can do about that, Judith? All right. Maybe if you could just go back and maybe just speak a little bit slower, maybe we'll be able to pick up a little bit more of the words. You've noted that it's the intention of this court to respectfully consider the views of the community. If you could just continue from there, because I couldn't quite hear what came after that.
Certainly, Your Honour. Your Honour, given what has recently been communicated by Kumanjai's family legal representatives and the Parumparu Committee, it appears appropriate that the court proceedings commence now in Alice Springs rather than in Yuendamu. And I'll just pause to check if Your Honour can hear me now.
Yes, that's better. Thanks, Ms. Dwyer.
Your Honour, there were considerable logistics involved in arranging for sittings in Yuendamu, as Your Honour might imagine. So we have booked accommodation for around 20 people who required it, including court staff. And we had also arranged facilities in Yuendamu for the court to sit there. The Coroner's Office had earmarked funding for Poor Media, the Walpuri Media Association, to film and live stream the proceedings in Yuendamu. So might I ask that we confirm arrangements today so that these arrangements can be cancelled in Yuendamu if they are indeed not needed at this stage?
Sure. So maybe starting with you, Mr. McMahon, are you able to advise us the current views of the Parumparu Committee concerning the commencement of the inquest?
Yes, Your Honour. Can you hear me, Your Honour?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Your Honour, there are perhaps three short points I should make. Firstly, I understand is in accordance with what Ms. Dwyer has just advised the court. So I agree with each of the propositions that she's made. Secondly, perhaps unscripted, but I should note we are very conscious and we greatly appreciate the efforts that Your Honour staff and Council Assisting have gone to, and our clients also greatly appreciate those efforts to commence the hearing at Yuendamu and to engage in the process that was planned and discussed and just outlined then again by Ms. Dwyer. And so it is obviously very regrettable. However, it is correct to say that the situation such as it is and the need for certainty in planning such as we recognise means that what Ms Dwyer said is correct and that the inquest should commence at Alice Springs and not at Yuendamu. Although we previously said in a letter that the position might change, that hope for the optimism in that expression doesn't allow us to make any suggestion to the court to keep the arrangements in place for going to Yuendamu or for having a strong contingency plan. The only plan that we can recommend to Your Honour at this stage is in accordance with July.
Yes, thanks, Mr. McMahon. Mr. Hearn, what's the situation regarding the commencement of the inquest or the views regarding the commencement of the inquest on behalf of the Lane, Walker and Robertson families?
Thank you, Your Honour. They are properly encapsulated in what Mr Dwyer has submitted to Your Honour. I travelled to Papunya and Yuendamu last week in order to get as up-to-date views on that issue and others as possible. And the position very clearly communicated to me by all of the family members of each of the three family groups is that at this point in time it would not be appropriate for the inquest to begin in Yuendamu. That is a change of position to that which was earlier communicated to Council Assisting and Your Honour. And that change of position has come about as a result of a change in circumstances on the ground in Yuendamu and a change of feeling about whether it would be appropriate for the inquest to be present there.
Yes, look, thanks, Mr. Hearn, and we did appreciate you communicating via letter with us of those concerns. Mr. Mullins?
Your Honour, our position, or the Brown family's position, is consistent with the position of the other families, and we agree with the position on the submissions of Mr. McMahon and Mr. Hearn.
Thank you. Given that information, Dr. Dwyer, should we now be confirming that the inquest will in fact start in Alice Springs on the 5th of September and it will not be starting in Yuendamu as previously indicated?
Yes, Your Honour.
Thank you. So I can now confirm that the inquest will start in Alice Springs on the 5th of September. Now, Dr. Dwyer, I think though at some stage there will be a need to attend Yuendamu at least for a view. Are you able to provide any information about that?
Yes, Your Honour, I respectfully agree. And it may be, Your Honour, that not all parties who will be at the bar table will need to attend the view or will seek to attend the view. And I will have discussions with legal teams for the family and community as we progress to see how that view can be done in a way that is sensitive and most respectful to the family and community. But I do put on the record that it will be necessary for the court to attend on Yuendamu, for Your Honour to attend on Yuendamu for a view at some stage. And Your Honour, might I say at this stage, I'm always going to be, of course, mindful of my obligation to ensure the court allows for procedural fairness to all parties. But when Your Honour visits Yuendamu for a view, that may again be an opportunity for engagement with the community in a less formal way. So to be clear, at some stage Your Honour will attend Yuendamu. The of that will be discussed with family and community, and whether they wish to use that as an additional opportunity for less formal engagement will also be discussed. But just because we're not doing that at the beginning doesn't close off that opportunity to the community and family.
Thank you.
So, then it's how the proceedings should commence in Alice Springs. I note, Your Honour, that there is increasing emphasis in the Coroner's Court in the Northern Territory and indeed in other jurisdictions around Australia of the need to make every effort to make coronial proceedings inclusive to families and the community and to respect Aboriginal culture. I acknowledge that this court is not likely to ever feel comfortable for family or witnesses, but every effort will be made to make these proceedings less intimidating and more open and inclusive. There are ongoing discussions, Your Honour, between your counsel assisting and the legal representatives for community and family as to how that can be done, and that includes whether or not any family or community representatives would like to do or say anything before the formal commencement of the proceedings in Alice Springs. As yet, we haven't firmed up those details, but I can only say that those discussions will continue.
Thank you.
Your Honour, in order to assist the family and community to understand the inquest process, the counsel assisting team, with assistance, has put together some education materials. A 12-minute message has been recorded in Walpri and it has been distributed to the legal representatives for family and community. We are grateful to Karma and to Paw Media for their assistance with that recording and for their assistance in distributing it. I will play that recording in my opening, I anticipate. And I can also indicate that there will be a website for this inquest, and that recording will be on the website so that it can be played by anybody at any time. And I'm hoping that that website will be live next week. The Honour seeks to make these proceedings accessible to Kumanjai's family and the broader community, given the significant amount of public interest in this inquest, and also, of course, the family's desire to understand the proceedings. Therefore, as parties know, arrangements have been made for the proceedings to be live streamed. Kumanjai's family has asked that a live stream be set up on a screen in a discreet place somewhere in Yuendamu, and arrangements for that are currently being made. Your Honour, every effort has been made with the assistance of the Aboriginal Interpreter Service to have my opening, when it's completed, translated into Walpri, and I'm hopeful also Luritja, and then to have that recording be on the website created for the inquest. As Your Honour knows, the Lane family, many members of the Lane family speak Luritja, and the Robertson, Walker and Brown families speak Walpri. Your Honour's opening remarks at the commencement of the inquest and an acknowledgement of country will be interpreted at that time, that is spontaneously on the 5th of September. And it's hoped then that the opening will be recorded and ready by that day to be played in Walpri and Luritja at any time that the family and community choose after the opening.
Sure.
And the opening will stay on the website.
Look, I really appreciate the work that's been done to ensure that the proceedings are as open and accessible as possible. I recall at the very first directions hearings there were concerns about length and accessibility, and I do hope that having the live stream into community, the availability of interpreters, the opening available for an extended period of time on the website will all assist with ensuring that people who wish to access the proceedings can do so.
Thank you, Your Honour. And Mr Coleridge has been liaising a lot with the Aboriginal Interpreter Service, and we're grateful for their assistance.
Yes.
Might I come now to the issue of managing witnesses? Since the last directions hearing, the brief has been expanded considerably. We have obtained, for example, 6 statements from the Walker, Lane and Robertson families, 4 from the Brown family, and 2 provided by members of the Paramparoo Committee. I note that the court is grateful for the assistance of the legal representatives to obtain those statements. They are in addition to some recorded statements that had already been taken by investigating police and appear in the brief. We have additional statements from some service providers and some additional relevant academic material. I note that a number of serving and retired police officers have also provided statements to assist Your Honour. We anticipate that there will be further brief material served, as there often is in the lead up to an inquest commencing, and that will include a number of expert reports provided by NARJA, and I anticipate the Paramparoo Committee. And might I express my gratitude for those reports that are to come, and for the cooperation and assistance of my learned friends. Again, Your Honour, of course, we're mindful of obligations of procedural fairness. So after the service of those reports, if any parties need to put on any material in reply, that will be accommodated. A revised and lengthier witness list has been distributed. Your Honour, parties were asked to advise by close of business by the 8th of August last week whether their clients wish any witnesses to be added to that witness list, and if so, why. We've only received a small number of requests, I think because the witness list was probably fairly comprehensive, but we are continuing to have those discussions with my learned friend about what can be accommodated. But I expect that we will be largely in agreement.
Thank you.
Your Honour, the next step then is for your council assisting team to prepare a witness schedule, which is no easy feat. But in order to do that, we've asked parties by the end of today to advise whether they seek to examine witnesses on the witness list and to estimate how long they would need or be likely to need for a cross-examination. Thus far, we have had a response only from NARJA, and that has been very helpful. Parties have been given to the end of today, so no doubt other responses will be received shortly. I appreciate, Your Honour, the difficulty involved in trying to be accurate as to how long parties need for cross-examination, partly because it might depend on how much detail counsel assisting goes into in the preliminary examination. I think parties can assume that I would be thorough with witnesses, but that, of course, always leaves room for others. I note that Your Honour would not hold parties to a minute-by-minute estimate that they make for cross-examination, but can I just reiterate that I've asked parties to genuinely try to give us some sort of estimate, because it's just essential for the scheduling of witnesses. People receive summons to appear for the first day of the inquest and to remain throughout the inquest, but of course that doesn't happen in reality. We need to give people an idea of when they'll be called. So I'm grateful for the assistance of my learned friends, and once we receive that feedback by the end of today, we anticipate getting the witness schedule out by the 22nd of August. That's next Monday, and that's a good 2 weeks prior to the start of the inquest.
I do appreciate that it is somewhat speculative, but obviously witnesses are concerned to be able to prepare their lives as well, and to make arrangements to attend the inquest. So I would be very much grateful if everyone could respond, particularly at least to identify those witnesses that they're likely to wish to examine, and your best estimates would be appreciated so that we can start to put together a schedule and give at least some guidance to the witnesses as to when they might be required, and so they can make their arrangements to be available. Yes.
Thank you, Your Honour. Your Honour, finally, in terms process, I just wanted to note that Patty and I are hopeful of being in Yuendamu starting from the 1st of September. We can stay as long as is needed, but the purpose for that is just to make ourselves available to answer any questions that community members or family might have before the commencement of the inquest in Alice Springs. And I just note that at any time prior to the inquest, members of the community and family are invited to get in contact with counsel assisting. We have put a phone number on that recording. There'll be a phone number and contact details on the website, and we will continue to communicate regularly as best we can to ensure that the voice of the community and family members in particular is heard in this inquest.
Thank you, Dr. Dwyer. Is there anything else that you had wanted to raise in relation to the directions hearing?
No, Your Honour.
Thank you. Do any of the parties have any matters that they wish to raise for the directions hearing today, noting that this is likely the last chance we'll have to openly air these matters before the commencement on the 5th of September?
Your Honour, the Northern Territory Police have been conscious of the issues which have emerged latterly in Yuendamu. It was a particular incident and then there were some consequences to that. There is a mediation process which is ongoing, and there is optimism that that will result in a rapprochement and an easing of tensions, and local police are involved in that process. And we've remained in contact with Dr. Dwyer to let her know the status of matters, and we will continue to that communication.
Thank you, Dr. Prickleton. Any other matters to be raised?
Your Honour, it's Marn here. There's just quick matters I might mention. I don't want to take everyone's time, so I'll do most of this on the phone with counsel assisting. But
sure.
In terms of opening remarks at the commencement of the inquest, although we have a number of members who would probably like to do that, on the whole, the current situation is they find that the concept of doing that particularly daunting. But I just raise it because it might be appropriate and others might want to join in on this, just to allow for some flexibility on the first morning, because there may be, and we would hope to have this well and truly clarified before that first morning, but just to let you know and the other parties know, there may be at least one of our members who would like to make an opening statement, and I don't know that that's going to happen. I'm just flagging it so that it's in counsel assisting's mind and may come to. Another matter that I ought to raise is that at least one of our witnesses is hoping to give evidence by remote facility from Yuendamu, and I haven't yet discussed that with counsel assisting, but it may also be something that other parties are either engaged already with or want to consider, and we have to discuss the facilities for that. And we do have a number of other statements which will be coming very shortly, both expert and local community people.
Thanks.
Thank you, Anna.
I know we'll appreciate those statements, and we will be open and very open to any contributions that the family or community wish to make at the commencement of the proceedings. And we are also open to ongoing discussions if during the course of the proceedings people become more comfortable and wish to participate in a less formal way as the proceedings progress. So we'll keep those avenues of discussion and opportunity open. Mr. McMurray?
It's actually my personal opinion that once the ball is bounced, to use a Victorian metaphor, and be more of that kind of engagement. But I think that doing it at the beginning is proving exceedingly challenging for some.
And as I said, we will definitely keep those lines of communication open, and we will discuss whether there are other ways during the course of the inquest that people can participate or be engaged. when they're comfortable or if they're comfortable to do so. Again, look, thank you for gathering at reasonably short notice, and I look forward to seeing you all again on the 5th of September in Alice Springs.
Before Your Honour finishes complaining. Following on from what was just said, I wonder if I could canvass with Your Honour what your preferences are in terms of personal attendance. Some members of the Northern Territory Police Force have gone in different directions to different states, and of course many of those who are going to be witnesses reside in Darwin. We are operating on the assumption at the moment, Your Honour, that the Darwin witnesses are required in Alice Springs, but does Your Honour have a preference as to witnesses who are interstate and who would need to be brought from different places to Alice?
Look, I'm just going to let Dr. Dwyer respond to that one. We are likely to be flexible, and it will probably be on a pretty much a case-by-case basis, depending on the complexity of the evidence and the material that's being given. Obviously, witnesses who we anticipate might be giving evidence for a longer period of time, just given logistics with links and documents and things like that. I think we'll be very keen to have those witnesses in person, but certainly, and I will let Dr. Dwyer respond in a minute, but we're certainly making or trying to make some flexible arrangements available as well. But I'll just let Dr. Dwyer respond as well.
I think I'm just going to echo what Your Honour has said, that I would, and I can discuss this with Dr. Freckleton, but I would have certainly hoped that the witnesses who will give evidence for the longest period of time, I'm thinking, of course, about those witnesses who were involved in the events of November 2019 from the IRT, would give evidence in person. I can imagine that somebody, for example, like Mike Williams, who is now based in New Zealand, may want to give evidence by the AVL. So I think it is very much on a case-by-case basis, but I can see that logistically it would be far preferable to have as many people as possible in person. I appreciate that there's some difficulties with accommodation in Alice Springs and that there may be in some circumstances, personal difficulties. But if we could start with the primary position being people in person wherever possible.
Thank you.
Are there any other matters to be raised? Again, thank you for attending, and we will meet again on the 5th of September in Alice Springs.
It's Julian. One or two other things. If I do something today, I mean, we could do it like in the next minute, or we could do it later.
I'll give you a call now, Julian, if that suits you.
How's it going?
Up and wait.
Yeah, whatever you know. Nice to meet you. All good. Yeah, you stay going. Yeah.